In the middle of the luxurious first class, a deep and quiet voice rang out. "You don't deserve to sit here." All the passengers quietly looked at the skinny 16-year-old black girl, her face still visible despite the deep and heavy cupboard. No one expected that just a few minutes later, a hidden corner of the FBI badge would appear again, turning the entire area. In the middle of the luxurious first class, a deep and quiet voice rang out. "You don't deserve to sit here." All the passengers held their breaths in the skinny 16-year-old black girl, her face still visible despite the deep and heavy cupboard. No one expected that just a few minutes later, an FBI badge would appear again, turning the entire individual. Early morning at JFK International Airport is always bustling. Hundreds of people hurry along, dragging suitcases over the polished terrazzo floors under fluorescent lights. Overlapping announcements blare from overhead speakers. Suitcase wheels hum on the ground. Voices range from cheerful to irritated. Amid this modern, fast-paced environment, a 16-year-old girl walks with an air of surprising calm. Her name is Amelia Gray. She has a delicate face, warm brown skin that catches the airport lights. She wears a simple denim jacket, paired with black jeans and sneakers. Her curly hair is tied in a high ponytail. Rather than constantly scrolling social media like many teenagers, Amelia prefers observing everything around her, often jotting little notes in a small pocket notebook for any sudden ideas or reflections. Walking beside Amelia is her father, Christopher Gray, 46, tall with a firm posture and the resolute face of someone who's faced life or death situations more than once. He's in a finely tailored gray suit, a serious expression on his face, and a trace of impatience in his eyes. He doesn't wear a tie but leaves his crisp white shirt unbuttoned at the top, revealing a subtle desire to unwind, perhaps to escape from the endless piles of paperwork he usually deals with. "Amelia, do you want anything? A donut or a cup of hot tea? You still like ginger-spiced Indian tea, right?" "Yes, please," Amelia replies, smiling gratefully. Christopher gently rests a hand on his daughter's shoulder, suddenly realizing how much she's grown. Her height has shot up since the last time he really noticed. He's missed so many milestones because of his job. He is, after all, the deputy director of the FBI's counterterrorism division, ever swamped by reports, missions, and national security threats. Under normal circumstances, he'd be buried in a high-level meeting at Langley or FBI headquarters this very morning. Yet here he is, determined to spend 2 uninterrupted weeks with Amelia on vacation. Amelia is an only child and the pride of Christopher's life. Her mother, an anthropologist, passed away when Amelia was little due to a terminal illness. In the grief and aftermath, Christopher threw himself into his work, perhaps as a coping mechanism, to keep his mind busy and avoid emotional torment. Unfortunately, that also meant he was away more than he was present, missing countless father-daughter moments. Amelia grew up mostly under the watch of a rotating staff of nannies and teachers in private school. She consistently topped her classes, joined the debate team, played piano, volunteered at local charities, an independent, high-achieving teenager. Yet deep inside, she often longed for her father's presence at the dinner table, not just on a video call. This time, Christopher made a solid promise. 2 weeks, no work calls, no late-night briefings, no agent pulling me away. I want to spend this entire vacation with you, Amelia. She was half skeptical, but something in his eyes looked different, like he was weighed down by guilt for always being absent, or maybe afraid time was slipping away as she would soon go off to college. Amelia decided to believe him. She excitedly packed her luggage and made a list of places she wanted to visit in Bali. Tropical paradise with beaches of white sand, intricate ancient temples, and the vibrant local culture. Simply hearing her father say, Pick anywhere you want. We'll go. Touched her deeply. Flight NY-1876 was scheduled to depart at 7:45 a.m., taking them from New York to Bali with a brief technical stop in Singapore. Father and daughter were well acquainted with first class, since Christopher frequently traveled for work, and he wanted his daughter to be as comfortable as possible this time around. At precisely 7:15 a.m., Amelia and Christopher stood at the boarding gate. Their demeanors differed. Christopher glanced at his watch, occasionally checking his phone out of habit, while Amelia took in her surroundings with wide-eyed anticipation. Soon after, first-class passengers were invited to board. They stepped inside a section of plush leather seats, warm overhead lighting, and flight attendants in navy blue uniforms greeting them with professional smiles. Their seat assignments: 2A, window, and 2B, aisle. Amelia loved window seats because she could watch the ground crew, see the world shrink beneath the wings during takeoff, and retreat into her private world as needed. Christopher had barely stowed his luggage when his phone vibrated non-stop. The screen showed A.D. Hughes, FBI. A frown appeared on his forehead. He shot Amelia an apologetic glance. "You need to answer that?" she asked quietly, trying to sound nonchalant. "Just a few minutes, sweetheart. I'll try to be back before takeoff. Must be an urgent briefing," Christopher said, his voice tinged with regret. He headed down the aisle to a secluded meeting area in the airport, where FBI agents often gather for high-level security discussions. Amelia bit her lip, frustrated that her father's promise seemed under attack so soon. Yet she also understood the importance of his work. Barely 3 minutes after Christopher left, a woman appeared. A well-built figure, perhaps in her early 40s, wearing a fashionable cream trench coat. Her face showed a distinct displeasure. She was Victoria Hawthorne. Victoria paused at row 2, eyes narrowing as she looked over Amelia. Her gaze traveled from the girl's brown skin to her casual outfit. "Excuse me, you're sitting in my seat," Victoria announced in a piercing tone, loud enough for nearby passengers to notice. "I don't think so," Amelia replied, looking up. "My ticket says 2A. "Impossible. I always book a window seat, and this is definitely my seat," Victoria snapped, not even checking her own boarding pass. Amelia calmly showed her e-ticket. "Here, you can see. Seat 2A. Victoria rummaged in her Louis Vuitton purse and pulled out her paper ticket. It read 2C, an aisle seat in the same row, but not the window. Her expression darkened. "There must be some mistake. I have to be by the window." "I'm sorry," Amelia responded gently but firmly. "My ticket is definitely for this seat." Victoria stared at Amelia, her eyes roving from the girl's complexion to her simple clothes. Her voice dropped to a low, scornful tone that a few passengers could still hear. "How ridiculous. Someone like you can't afford first class. You don't belong here." Amelia's chest tightened. She'd faced this kind of disdain at her private school, at debate tournaments, prejudice about her skin color or background, but it still stung whenever it happened. Keeping her cool, she responded, "I'm certain about my boarding pass. If there's confusion, we can ask the flight attendant to verify. I won't give up my seat just because you threaten me." Victoria raised her voice, drawing a flight attendant over. The attendant, Chloe Martin, about 30, with her hair neatly in a bun, arrived with a professional yet wary smile. "Is there a problem?" Chloe asked courteously. "Problem? This girl has taken my seat," Victoria shot back. "Get her out of here immediately." Chloe compared Amelia's and Victoria's tickets, then checked the computer. She smiled politely. "Mrs. Hawthorne, you're assigned to seat 2C, and Miss Gray is indeed assigned to 2A, the window seat. The system is correct." "I refuse to accept that." Victoria nearly tossed the ticket aside in anger. "I specifically requested a window seat. I always sit there. Call the cabin manager right now." A man in a neighboring seat turned away, not wanting to get involved. An elderly couple in front glanced at each other, concerned. Amelia remained calm, recalling her father's advice. Don't stoop to their level. Let them reveal who they are through their own actions. Chloe explained the policy. If the system assigns seats a certain way, and if a passenger is seated correctly, they can't be forced to move. If Mrs. Hawthorne really wanted a window, Chloe could see if there was another available once boarding ended. But for now, Victoria had to take 2C. Do you have any idea who my husband is? Victoria hissed in a threatening tone. Adam Hawthorne, Deputy Chief of Staff at the Justice Department. One phone call, and you'll be fired. Do you hear me? I'm sorry, ma'am, Chloe replied, maintaining a composed smile. But we can't break the airline's rules. I refuse to sit next to this black girl. I feel unsafe. She could be a smuggler or something. Her blatantly racist words hung in the air. Chloe and the surrounding passengers froze. Some began discreetly filming on their phones. Amelia's face went pale, her hand trembling on her phone. She opened a message to her father. Dad, there's trouble on the plane. Someone's trying to kick me out of my seat. Yet Amelia paused, took a breath, and decided not to hit send just yet. She was determined to handle it herself. In row 5, an unassuming woman wearing a black blazer, FBI agent Joanne Lewis, quietly observed. She was assigned to accompany Christopher for security, though the deputy director had stepped off for that last-minute briefing. Seeing Amelia distressed, Joanne typed a text to her colleagues. Boss's daughter is facing racial harassment on board. Could escalate. Might need intervention. Overhearing the commotion, Captain James Williams, around 50 with 2 decades of flying experience, emerged from the cockpit. He had a sturdy build, a calm but firm voice that radiated authority. Mrs. Hawthorne, I'm Captain Williams, he said. I understand there's a dispute over a seat. Victoria seized the opportunity. Yes, thank goodness you're here. This girl stole my window seat, and the flight attendant won't do anything about it. My husband is high up at the Justice Department, and I want her removed right now. Captain Williams listened calmly as Chloe explained the actual seat assignments. The captain then turned to Victoria. Mrs. Hawthorne, Miss Gray is in the correct seat, according to both her ticket and our system. If you wish to have a window seat, my flight attendant can look for an extra window seat after boarding. Otherwise, you'll need to remain in your assigned seat. We cannot force another passenger to move simply because you demanded it, especially when you've used offensive language. His words made Victoria's carefully orchestrated story crumble. She only became more enraged. I will not sit by that black girl. This is unacceptable. I demand to speak to my husband's superiors. I'm warning you people. My family has power, and you'll regret how you've treated me. Chloe, feeling things were spiraling out of control, signaled to a ground security officer. Passengers shifted nervously in their seats. Amelia sat by the window, heart pounding, anger and hurt swirling inside. What did I ever do to deserve this? She thought. Amelia wanted her father, but she also didn't want to ruin the big meeting he was in. She wrestled with her pride versus the fear of being alone in a hostile situation. Should she summon him or continue standing her ground on her own? Unable to get her way, Victoria confronted Amelia directly. You brat! Just you wait. What do you think your father does? Some low-paid airport janitor or baggage handler? My husband can make people disappear with a single phone call. Amelia had never felt such a potent mixture of humiliation and fury. She stood up abruptly. Don't you dare speak about my father that way. Victoria's eyes flashed, about to jab her finger in Amelia's face when Chloe quickly stepped in. Captain Williams signaled to the ground security officer to intervene if needed. The tension was razor sharp. In a small secured conference room near the departure gates, Christopher Gray was briskly concluding a crucial meeting with 2 FBI agents. They'd received intel on potential security threats in certain tourist-heavy areas. Trying to keep it brief, Christopher still had to sign off on some official documents. His phone vibrated. A message from Agent Joanne Lewis. Your daughter is facing racial harassment on the plane. Getting serious. Captain has been notified. Recommend you return. Christopher felt a surge of anger flood his chest. He glanced at the final pages, promptly delegated to his deputy. Nick, wrap this up for me. Assign tasks as needed. I have to get back to my daughter. Email me the details. But unless there's a national emergency, do not call me for the next 2 weeks. I promised my daughter my undivided attention. The agents nodded in respect, fully understanding how rare it was for Christopher to end a security briefing early. Something must be seriously affecting his daughter. Back on the plane, Captain Williams was on the verge of asking Victoria to take seat 2C or disembark altogether. She was still hurling insults, while Amelia stood her ground, but with visible strain. Suddenly, heads turned toward the front of the first-class cabin. Christopher Gray stepped in, exuding an almost palpable authority in his tailored gray suit. Behind him trailed 2 plainclothes FBI agents who subtly positioned themselves around the aisle. Captain Williams recognized him immediately. Mr. Gray, that was quick. We were just discussing the best course of action regarding your daughter. The mere mention of Mr. Gray made several passengers pause. Victoria whipped around, puzzled and uneasy, unsure who he was. The stares of fellow passengers felt like spotlights. Christopher approached row 2, scanning for Amelia. She looked up at him, tears welling in her eyes, but refusing to show vulnerability. Christopher gently set a hand on her shoulder. You okay, Amelia? Amelia exhaled a shaky breath and managed a small nod. Victoria, thoroughly confused, demanded, Who are you people? Why is everyone looking at me like that? Chloe, the flight attendant, cleared her throat. Mrs. Hawthorne, this is Mr. Christopher Gray, Deputy Director of the FBI's Counterterrorism Division, and more importantly, Miss Gray's father. Victoria froze. Her eyes darted between Amelia and Christopher. She stammered, What? That can't be. My husband, Deputy Chief of Staff. No one told me. Christopher's stare was ice cold. So you claim my daughter doesn't belong in first class? That she somehow stole your seat? You threatened to get her removed and used your husband's rank to scare the crew. Victoria paled, suddenly seeing the bigger picture. She'd attacked the daughter of a man who outranked her husband in the federal chain of command. She tried to cling to her pride. I didn't know she was your daughter. I never would have. Christopher cut her off. Exactly. If you'd known she was connected to someone more powerful, you wouldn't have harassed her. If she were just an ordinary young black girl, you'd feel it was perfectly okay to run her off. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. The entire cabin was silent, phones recording the scene. Someone who had abused her perceived influence now finding herself outranked. Mrs. Hawthorne, Christopher continued calmly, I've heard quite enough about how you insulted my daughter and threatened those around you. In any other case, I'd see you off the plane. Victoria's face shone with sweat as fear sank in. She stuttered, Mr. Gray, I'm truly sorry. I promise, No need to apologize to me, Christopher said, his voice still steely. You owe an apology to my daughter. He turned slightly, giving Victoria space to face Amelia. The older woman stepped closer, trembling. Miss Gray, I'm so sorry for the things I said, for acting like you didn't deserve to be here, for insulting your father. Amelia sat quietly, a dignified look in her eyes. She neither accepted nor rejected the apology outwardly, simply giving a small nod. Captain Williams addressed Christopher. Mr. Gray, if you want, I can have Mrs. Hawthorne removed from the flight. The airline doesn't tolerate harassment. Everyone expected Christopher to say yes, that she be kicked off immediately. But to their surprise, he shook his head. That won't be necessary, Captain. Let's keep the flight on schedule. I believe everyone here has witnessed enough to understand what happened. All we want is a peaceful journey. Still, he turned to Chloe. But we do need a better seat arrangement. My daughter shouldn't have to endure more harassment. Chloe nodded. She told Victoria she'd be reassigned to economy class, since first class was nearly full. Victoria's face flashed with humiliation, but she had nothing left to argue. She reluctantly gathered her designer handbag and trudged to the back, surrendering her first-class seat. At the same time, Chloe offered that newly freed seat to an elderly gentleman suffering from knee pain in economy, giving him a much more comfortable spot. His tearful gratitude contrasted Victoria's silent outrage as she marched down the aisle. Once the situation settled and Victoria left for the back, Christopher sat beside Amelia. The plane pushed off from the gate, rolling toward the runway. Amelia turned to her father with a quiet voice. "You didn't have to do all that, Dad. I could have managed." "I know you could have," Christopher answered, gently wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "And you did very well, Amelia. But I'm your father. I can't stand by and let you face this alone." She inhaled, tears threatening to spill, not out of fear anymore, but from a rush of emotions she'd been bottling up during the confrontation. "You could have ordered them to kick her off," she murmured. "She deserved it," Christopher acknowledged. "But real power isn't about what you can do to someone. It's about what you choose not to do when you'd be justified. I want her to learn from this, not to be publicly crushed just to satisfy our anger. You showed your self-worth, and the whole cabin saw it." As the plane roared skyward, Amelia looked out the window, watching the New York skyline recede into tiny blocks. Christopher switched his phone to airplane mode and turned to her. "I really want you to trust this trip will be different, Amelia. I've told my team not to call unless it's a dire national crisis. I don't want to lose any more moments with you." Amelia gave a soft smile, still a touch hesitant. "I hope so, Dad. It's just, I've heard that promise a lot. But you seem more certain this time." Christopher gently squeezed her hand. "I've delegated my responsibilities. Unless something extreme happens, I'm all yours for the next 2 weeks. Let's make up for lost time." Feeling a weight lift off her shoulders, Amelia pulled out her little notebook, showing him the pages with sketches, maps, and lists of Balinese temples, surf spots, and beachside cafes. She enthusiastically explained her travel plans. Christopher listened closely, realizing how long she'd been waiting to share her world with him. After a long flight, father and daughter finally touched down in Bali. A new world beckoned. Warm air, the scent of incense mingling with the sea breeze, bright blue taxis whizzing by, local people greeting them with big smiles. Amelia seemed in her element, her eyes sparkling as she breathed in this tropical haven. The memory of that in-flight altercation melted away. Dressed in a light blue floral sundress and a wide-brimmed straw hat, Amelia snapped photos of everything from statues at the airport entrance to rows of swaying coconut palms. Christopher followed her in a casual outfit, a navy polo shirt, beige khakis, and sneakers. For the first time in months, he felt genuinely relaxed. "Dad, look!" Amelia gasped. "They're performing a traditional Balinese dance right here in the airport." Sure enough, a small troupe was showcasing a flamboyant legong dance, wearing vibrant red, gold, and turquoise costumes, floral headdresses, and mesmerizing movements. Christopher paused to watch, a wave of nostalgia passing over him as he recalled the missed vacations he'd once dreamed of taking with his late wife. Now, at last, he was experiencing something unique with his daughter. They arrived at their seaside resort, a cluster of villas built in traditional Balinese style, with thatched roofs surrounded by coconut groves. Stone paths led to a pristine white sand beach, the ocean humming softly. Near the infinity pool, glimmering an emerald shade, they found their private villa. Amelia gushed, "This is so beautiful! Look, Dad, the sunset view from our pool is incredible." Inside, the villa blended Balinese decor with modern comforts. A spacious bed draped in cream linens, white orchids adorning the windowsill, polished wooden floors. Amelia practically skipped with excitement. "Dad, can we go to the beach right now?" Christopher nodded, removing his jacket and revealing well-toned arms. Gone was the tense FBI official. Now he was a dad ready to enjoy a well-deserved vacation with his daughter. One afternoon, after visiting the Uluwatu temple and watching the Kechak dance at sunset, father and daughter headed to a famous seafood restaurant near Jimbaran Beach. Walking through the lobby, Amelia spotted a familiar face, Victoria Hawthorne. Victoria was seated with a man in his 50s, likely her husband, Adam Hawthorne, the deputy chief of staff at the Justice Department. He looked exhausted, perhaps from work. Victoria glanced up, saw Amelia, and her complexion changed instantly. She turned away, uncertain what to do. Amelia and Christopher found a table nearby and sat down. Christopher had no intention of reigniting any confrontation. But Adam Hawthorne stood up, approached them, and politely extended his hand to Christopher. "Hello, Mr. Gray. I'm Adam Hawthorne, Deputy Chief of Staff at the Justice Department. My wife told me about the incident on the flight. I want to personally apologize. It was unacceptable, and I'm deeply sorry for her behavior." Christopher gave a curt but respectful nod. "I appreciate that. I trust your wife understands the seriousness." Adam turned to Amelia, bowing slightly. "Miss Gray, I'm truly sorry for how my wife behaved. I won't make excuses. I hope you can forgive her." Amelia saw genuine remorse in Adam's eyes, so she nodded in acknowledgement. Victoria got up, walking over with a shaky stance. I can't bring myself to face you, but I must apologize again. I got in touch with my travel agency, and they said there was indeed a computer error. My window seat request was lost, but that still doesn't justify how I acted." Amelia took a moment, choosing her words. "I accept your apology, but please understand how deeply racist words can cut. It isn't just a passing comment. It's something that tries to rob someone else's dignity." Victoria's eyes brimmed with tears. Amelia guessed that she might have faced serious repercussions from her husband. Whether Victoria would truly change was uncertain, but at least she was standing here, owning her mistake rather than hiding behind her status. Christopher, observing the exchange, silently hoped this experience taught Victoria to see others with less prejudice. They continued enjoying Bali. One day they attended a traditional cooking class, where Amelia gleefully learned to cook chicken satay and Balinese water spinach soup. Christopher fumbled a bit with the knives, laughing when Amelia teased, "Maybe you could trade the FBI for MasterChef, Dad." In the afternoon, they strolled down the bustling sands of Kuta Beach, watching surfers ride the crashing waves. Overcome by Amelia's urging, Christopher tried a beginner's surf lesson, wiping out several times. But each time he got back up, spurred on by Amelia's bright smile. At the Tanah Lot Temple during sunset, they snapped a stunning silhouette photo. Amelia leaned her head against Christopher's shoulder, quietly saying, "I've never seen you this relaxed, Dad." "And I've never seen you this radiant," Christopher replied. "I should have done this long ago." One evening, as they lounged under the stars on the villa's terrace, Christopher's phone buzzed. He hesitated, seeing FBI HQ on the screen. Amelia tensed. "Is our vacation being cut short?" After a brief pause, Christopher answered. A special agent's voice reported, "All's stable here, sir. No pressing terrorist threats. We just wanted to update you so you can relax." Christopher thanked the agent and hung up. "They're just checking in. Everything's fine. Let's enjoy our time." Amelia let out a relieved laugh. Father and daughter sat in the warm Balinese night. The villa lights dimmed. Stars glittered overhead, and faint gamelan music drifted through the breeze. "Dad?" Amelia asked suddenly. "Do you think Victoria really learned something, or is she just angry about being humiliated?" Christopher reflected. gazing out at the dark ocean. Some people don't change fully overnight, but a wake-up call like that can crack their tough shell, letting in a little light. Whether or not it grows, time will tell. "I hope so," Amelia said softly. Not just for her sake, but for anyone else who might get hurt by that mindset. It poisons both the victim and the person harboring it. For Victoria, the lesson was a public reckoning, realizing that her husband's career might be jeopardized if she continued abusing her perceived privilege. For Amelia, seeing her father's calm but firm response underscored how real authority is about enforcing justice without becoming vindictive. For Christopher, it was clear now that no security briefing or anti-terror mission surpassed his duty to stand beside his daughter when she needed him. The story ends with a serene vacation and a happy return. Christopher's handling of the in-flight crisis, choosing not to intimidate, but instead calling out the misconduct and giving the wrongdoer a chance to reflect, demonstrates a higher form of real power. A truly strong person doesn't need to crush another to prove themselves. Rather, they use their authority to defend dignity and uphold fairness, while allowing a path for others to learn from their mistakes. For Amelia, this was an affirmation that she rightfully belongs wherever her merit and effort take her, even in a world sometimes filled with prejudice. Standing up against discrimination has fortified her self-respect. And for us, the readers, the narrative reminds us that a single hateful remark can do great harm, while a single courageous stance can dismantle injustice. May each of us choose to treat others with fairness and compassion, and be willing to speak up for what's right, even in ordinary places like airplane aisles or waiting lounges. Bit by bit, we can dissolve the lines that divide us and move toward greater unity and kindness. If this story moved you, share it. Let's keep discussing and promoting stories of decency winning over injustice, even in the smallest corners of our daily lives.